Coming up, we are going to be reviewing Apple's new M4 iPads Pro. Stay tuned.
This is TWiT.
Hello and welcome. I have spent 1 week with Apple's new M4 iPad Pro, the 11-inch model. We also have the 13-inch model here with us, and we'll be taking a look at that as well. Before we get into what you can expect from these new models, I did want to mention what you get in the box, because that is a question, right? When it comes to the iPhone, you got a little cable. I think these days, especially if you're in the United States, you don't even get one of those little SIM ejector tools anymore. Well, when it comes to the iPad Pro, you do get the device itself, but you also get a nice 20-watt USB adapter. You can count on having some charging actually in the box. And in the case of the Space Black model, you also get a nice Space Black USB-C cable. So that is a braided cable, by the way, which I was very happy about. In fact, when I first unboxed this, I did it on air, and so I didn't get an opportunity to keep digging into the box. So I went back to the box and was very excited to find this Space Black cable inside to charge my iPad Pro. Now, when it comes to these new iPads Pro, Apple has said that it has made the thinnest device ever. And that is particularly the case with the 13-inch model. The 11-inch model is 5.3 millimeters on its edge. Very, very thin already, and I've been happy with that. But the 13-inch model, because it's got a little bit more space to spread out, this model is 5.1 millimeters thin. Now, with the 11-inch model, it is just under a pound, 0.98 pounds of heft. And this here is 1.28 pounds, this 13-inch model. That's about a quarter of a pound lighter than the last iPad Pro. And I have to tell you, you do feel the difference. Holding this in your hands, it certainly feels much lighter, and it's nice. It's nice to hold. And I have to say, with the last iPad model, I did not have that as much. I did get a little tired after a while holding it. Along with that physical change, the much thinner design, we've also seen the movement of the front-facing camera to the side of the iPad Pro. This is a change that has slowly swept across the entire iPad lineup, which makes sense that we would want to move it to the edge. That's how a lot of people use their iPads, and it also kind of gets it out of the way whenever you are working in this kind of landscape mode. On the back, though, is something interesting. It's almost as if Apple is saying, we do offer a camera, but do you need to have a camera? This is the standard camera that comes with the iPad Pro. But you'll remember that in previous models, there was also an ultra-wide camera on the back. Now you've just got the standard camera. It does have an updated flash and all of the other mechanisms built in that will provide better performance when it comes to actually capturing photos. And when Apple kind of demoed this product on stage, it really talked about the ability to use this device as something that can scan documents. It was less about kind of capturing the environment around you and more as kind of a utility camera. So they seem to be encouraging that you use your iPhone, which has very good camera quality, as your means of capturing. Still, it is there if you do need it, and I'm glad that Apple is still including at least one camera on the back for when it's needed. Moving on from the design, I think the thing that is going to set this device apart for you, and certainly the thing that set it apart for me, is the brand new display. This is the Ultra Retina XDR display. Is incredible. This is an OLED display, and Apple did something kind of ridiculous. So Apple has its own rules, it seems, for what counts as an Ultra Retina XDR. It has these different terms that it sets in marketing. And in order to have a display that it felt was bright enough to still count as an Ultra Retina XDR display, it needed to create something called, it needed to use something, I should say, called a Tandem OLED display, or Tandem OLED display. What that means is there are actually two OLED screens stacked in order to provide the brightness necessary to actually show what's on screen. So what you have here, again, are two OLED screens that are working together to display whatever it is that you're viewing on your screen. Now, when it comes to this, you're still getting that P3 color gamut, which is wonderful, but you're also getting the same contrast ratio that you can find on an iPhone. That is a 2,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio. Now, Apple loves to talk about its nits. This does have 1,000 nits of max brightness with 1,600 nits of peak HDR. What that means is that if you have the right content and you're viewing maybe a photo that has high dynamic range, or a movie, for example, that has high dynamic range, the brightest part of the scene can bump all the way up to a very bright 1,600 nits. If I had something that was HDR content that was mostly white so that it was just shining as bright as it possibly could, I wouldn't be surprised if I could get a tan from this screen. It's kind of incredible. And there's a huge difference, honestly, between what you get from this screen and the iPad that you've had before. So again, when we're looking at whether this is the right iPad for you, whether this is the time to make the upgrade, there are now a few things that you might consider. Do you feel like the iPad that you have is heavy? It is something that you wish that you could kind of move around a little bit easier? Do you wish that it fit into your bag better, that it didn't take up as much space? And do you feel like the iPad that you've had up to this point has a screen that is not quite living up to what you expect, particularly if you've got an iPhone that has that beautiful, beautiful, rich OLED screen? Well, then maybe this is the iPad for you, because within moments of looking at the screen, in particular when we compare it to the iPad that came before, you will see the difference here with the Ultra Retina XDR. Now, of course, Apple took the opportunity to talk about the Tandem OLED display, the thinnest device that the company has ever made. But it also did something really interesting. It announced its first M4 products. These iPads Pro pack in Apple's new M4 Apple Silicon chip. And that caught us a little off guard. We were pretty surprised by that. This, of course, is a performance boost. And you can expect, I think Apple said it was 38 TOPS, that's trillion operations per second, which compares to some of the new AI hardware that's out there right now. And that means that you are getting even better performance than we have had in the history of Apple's devices, frankly. It's quite impressive. Now, this is where things do start to get a little interesting, because depending on the model that you purchase and the storage size that you purchase, you can expect some differences. The 256 gigabyte and 512 gigabyte storage size options have a 9-core CPU that has 3 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. It also has 8 gigabytes of RAM. If you go for the larger model, the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models, then you can get a 10-core CPU with 4 performance cores, not just 3, and a huge jump to 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, what does all of that mean? Well, in my practice and my use of this device in my day-to-day, I have not run into any performance issues. And in fact, this is something that is a common criticism for Apple's iPads in general, and I think still rings true as I've had time to use this device. iPad OS is not really pushing up against all of the performance of even this 512 gigabyte model that I have. It does not need to have as much storage, or rather as much performance as it could possibly have. I don't need it. It's not required. I have not been able to kind of make it slow down. I've not run into any issues with that. And so if it comes down to you using your iPad regularly for things like editing video, for editing music, for doing incredibly performant tasks, then maybe, just maybe, you might run up against the performance of the 256 and 512 gigabyte models. But I was not able to do so in all of my testing of this device. So it's kind of one of those, if you know situations. If you know you need it, then maybe you make the upgrade. But if you don't think you do, then you probably don't, and you'll be just fine with the 256 and 512 gigabyte models. Now, one last thing about those storage sizes and how they make a difference. Apple has said that if you want to have the etched glass display, this is a low glare display, then you need to purchase one of the more expensive models. I have had several questions now about having that display on the iPad Pro. Why would someone want it? Why wouldn't they want it? And everything in between. And this is another one of those moments that feels like an if you know situation. If you are someone who knows that you need a display that has very low reflection, then that is probably something that you will want to pay extra for, that you will want to have. But if you're even the slightest bit unsure that it's something that you need, you probably don't need it. And according to Jason Snell on MacBreak Weekly, who spoke with Apple's PR team, he told us during the show that Apple itself seems to be kind of shying people away from that etched glass display unless they absolutely need it. So if you up to this point have been going, is that something that I need? You probably don't, and it's worth saving the money and getting this standard display. Because let me tell you this too. Although the etched surface is nice, anytime you etch a glass surface, you're going to get a little bit of reduction in light. So you may not get that wonderful brightness that this new display provides. Now, Apple's new iPads Pro are on their own some pretty cool devices with really great performance. But Apple has introduced some new accessories that make the new iPad Pro into something like a convertible device that feels a lot more like a MacBook. So along with these new iPad models, Apple has introduced a new Apple Pencil and a new Magic Keyboard. Let's talk about the Apple Pencil Pro first and foremost. So I have the new Apple Pencil Pro here. You can tell because it says Pencil Pro right there on the barrel. And it looks a lot like the Apple Pencil that came before it. It also works a lot like the Apple Pencil that came before it, in that the tip can be replaced by simply unscrewing it and screwing on a new tip. And it magnetically attaches and also charges by connecting to the side of the device or the top of the device depending on the orientation. What makes this unique are a few new features, including one called Barrel Roll and a feature called Squeeze, and also the ability to find your Apple Pencil using Find My. These are all new features of the Apple Pencil Pro that you wouldn't have otherwise. It also builds in a little haptic engine that gives you little bits of feedback whenever you are using it. So when I squeeze the side of the Apple Pencil, I actually feel a little vibration that tells me that I'm actually squeezing it. And if we look at this screen here, look towards the center of the screen and watch what happens when I squeeze the Apple Pencil. You'll see a little palette pop up. That is because the Apple Pencil Pro, when you use the squeeze gesture, can do a number of things, including bring up a tool palette. Now, With the Apple Pencil Pro, much like the Apple Pencil that came before it, the technology features a hover option. So when you bring the Apple Pencil close to the display, and in fact, let me change to a different tip here so you can see it a little bit better. As I bring the Apple Pencil close to the screen and I hover over it, I can see a preview of what my actual sort of my artistic moment is going to look like. In this case, it is a straight up and down line, and when I touch and move, it of course moves with it. Now, barrel roll is something that you have to kind of see very closely. Right now, as I'm holding the Apple Pencil in its current position, the line is straight up and down. But if I literally rotate the Apple Pencil, if I barrel roll the Apple Pencil, it changes the way that the tool is displaying on screen, and also changes the way that the line shows up. So as I rotate, I can actually make differences to that tool, which is very cool, particularly if you're doing things like calligraphy or you have other shaped pen tools. Changing the rotation of your art tool is going to have an impact on how the tool actually draws on your canvas. Now, along with this, there's a nice little feature that will show you kind of the position of the tool on screen. It kind of pops up a little shadow, and that is based on the rotation and the leaning of your tool. So as we're watching this, when I hold the tool, when I hold the Apple Pencil almost perpendicular to the iPad, then it is a very small tip. But as I turn my Apple Pencil and move it parallel to the iPad, the tip grows larger, and I'm able to use it almost like a shading tool. That is one of the features that's just possible with an Apple Pencil in general. But that barrel roll feature, the ability to kind of turn and have the tool show up in different places, is unique to the Apple Pencil Pro. Now, at any time, instead of having to go down to the bottom to access my palette, I can simply squeeze and access my palette here, switch tools, and then write. And now I have a much smaller tool, which is just a colored pencil. I can always do the double tap gesture, which has been a feature of Apple Pencil for some time. In this case, I have mine set to switch between the tool that I'm using and the eraser. So I'm able to erase a lot of what's on screen here. And then at any time, I simply double tap and I move back, and I've got my Apple Pencil back in its writing mode again. Very, very cool. This new Apple Pencil Pro. All of these features built into not just this Apple Pencil, but also some of the models that come before. I will say the Apple Pencil lineup is a little confusing, but this brings us to the next thing that sets the modern iPad Pro, I think, apart from some of the older competition, or maybe what would push you up to a Pro model over a standard iPad Air, is some of the functionality that the Apple Pencil Pro is able to do with the new iPad Pro. That is one of the new accessories, and that retails for $129. The other new accessory is the Magic Keyboard. The Magic Keyboard has been redesigned. If you're new to iPad Pro, then you may have been looking at these 3 dots on the back of the iPad and wondering what the heck these 3 dots are. This is the Smart Connector, and these 3 little spots connect to accessories that work with the Smart Connector, in this case, your Magic Keyboard. So on the Magic Keyboard, you can see that there are also 3 dots. These are actually pogo pins, and they, when the magnets align, snap and connect to the 3 dots on the back and provide connectivity to the Magic Keyboard. So I'm going to thwack my iPad onto the Magic Keyboard to show you. And here, let me move this iPad out of the way for now, what it looks like in this format. Now, a couple of things about Apple's new Magic Keyboard. First and foremost, the trackpad is now a haptic trackpad. So when you don't have it connected, this just sort of feels like a squishy surface. But the second you connect it, you get a nice click that comes with the trackpad. Secondly, and what I love, is the function row. Yes, folks, we have a function row on the Magic Keyboard now. I have been loving using the function row on the Magic Keyboard. I've got volume up and volume down, mute, play, pause. I got all my tools right there. And I also love that I can easily lock the display anytime I want to and gain access to it when I need to. It also has an escape key for those of you who are developers and really wanted an escape key. This also, as models of past have provided, it also offers, it's on the other side, a spot to charge via USB-C. So the reason why Apple included a USB-C port and a port in models before this is because you can plug in to charge here while leaving the port on the side of the iPad open so that you can do USB 4 and Thunderbolt connectivity. This supports Thunderbolt USB 4, meaning that you can connect all sorts of peripherals, including a hard drive or other accessories like a microphone or an external display. All of that can be connected there while you still kind of keep it charged on the other side. I will say that if you are a keyboard snob, you're not going to be super happy with this keyboard. I actually happen to like the Magic Keyboard keyboards and their travel. And so I'm very happy with this one. It is a slight change. It's a little bit more springy, a little bit more depth than we've seen in past models. And I enjoy typing on it. We also have a nice aluminum and glass top part of the case, whereas on the reverse, we have that standard kind of rubberized feel. Of course, the cutout for the camera is up in the top left depending on how you're viewing it. And the back of it is also that same rubberized feel. Now, I want to say this because this is kind of interesting. I just got this Magic Keyboard, and I don't know what this is, but there's already something on it. I've been cleaning this right before we shot this review, and I can't get this to come off. So that's troublesome. Luckily, I'm going to be covering it with a nice wrap very soon, so no one will see that. But it did bum me out that this, $299 keyboard case is already giving me some trouble. I want to show the back of this because this is a new look that we haven't seen before. And I've honestly got to say that this is the most un-Apple-y. Can I get really in here? Let me see. That's probably the best way to show it. This feels the most un-Apple-y in modern Apple design that I've seen in a while. There's something about it that's just kind of, it doesn't feel smooth. It doesn't feel like it has a good transition between the part of the case that is connected to the actual base of the case and the top of the case. And it feels a little, Fisher-Price? And I was kind of surprised to see the hinge on this Magic Keyboard based on what we've seen in Magic Keyboards of years past and also in Apple's other cases. They tend to kind of hide these sharp transitions between two places. And yeah, I was a little caught off guard by that, I'll be honest with you. Now, the case doesn't add too much to the weight of the whole device. But if you look, the iPad Pro is here. Again, this one is at 5.3 millimeters. And the case above it is probably around about the same size as the 13-inch iPad Pro, 5.1 millimeters. So it does add some width to, what would otherwise be a very thin device, but still overall, it is a quite nice small package. And if you're looking for, the ability to do multitasking, then I think that you will be happy with this whole new package. But again, adding to the cost of the iPad Pro, by adding an Apple Pencil Pro and a Magic Keyboard starts to build up on the costs there, with the $299 Magic Keyboard for the 11-inch and the $349 Magic Keyboard for the 13-inch. Those prices start to add up. Hey, at least the Apple Pencil Pro is the same price, regardless of which model you have. Now, lastly, I'll say that the new iPads Pro come in two colors, space black and silver. It looks like John Slanina, who owns this 13-inch model, and I have very similar tastes, as we both got the space black model. They start at $999 for the 11-inch model, as I have here. Mine was a little bit more than $999, given that it has a bigger storage size of 512 gigabytes. And the 13-inch model starts at $1299. Again, depending on the storage size that you get, that price is going to go up from there. Folks, I think that, I want to leave you again with just a reminder of what you need to know if you're planning on or considering upgrading to this new iPad Pro. If you are looking for a display to rival the quality of your iPhone, then this iPad Pro is probably for you. It is going to be a wow factor for you. If you are looking for a kind of mobile gaming device, honestly, the iPads of yesteryear and currently are all really performant devices, and I don't know that it's necessary to bounce to the M4 iPad. It is a matter of having access to the latest technology, and as we've said many times on the shows that we've been doing, and it does seem to be the case with the iPad as a whole, we're always buying these for the future. The promise that at some point, the device and the software are going to work together very well, such that we have something that kind of makes use of all that's available. This may actually come true as Apple continues to work on its generative AI features that will likely take advantage of the multiple performance and efficiency cores that are inside the new M4 Apple Silicon chip. So if you want your camera on the side of the iPad, you want to use all of the technology that's in the Apple Pencil Pro, you want to have a nice kind of thin package that you can take with you, a little bit like a MacBook, but in iPad OS, then maybe this is the iPad for you. But overall, I don't see it as a necessary upgrade over any of the modern iPads Pro. It is arguably a luxury item if you have upgraded recently. If you haven't upgraded recently, you might as well go all in on the latest and greatest tech, because at least you're future-proofing for what we're supposed to see, what we're reportedly going to see down the line from Apple. Thank you for tuning in to our review of the new iPads Pro in 11 and 13 inches. We appreciate it. And I'd love to hear your questions, your thoughts, your concerns, anything you want to know about the new iPad Pro. You can email me, Mikah@twit.tv, and we'll catch you again in the future. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Leo Laporte, Chief Twit, welcoming you to the world of Twit podcasts. You've come to the best place to get good information from knowledgeable experts about this world of technology that's surrounding us. People you can trust, people you enjoy listening to. But now, I want to ask you to level up your Twit experience by joining Club Twit. It helps us keep these shows going, and it gives you, I think, some great benefits, ad-free versions of all of our shows. The Twit Plus feed, which has additional shows about Linux, about Windows, about Mac, stuff you can't get on the regular public feeds. We also have a fantastic Discord. That's where our community lives, thousands strong. People like you who are interested in technology and want to share their experiences and learn more from your peers. We think the Twit community is really the best part of Twit, and we want you to join. Plus, of course, your support keeps us thriving. If you have questions or you need a hand, there's an FAQ at the website for quick help, or you could shoot us an email. If you're ready to elevate your tech journey, I want you to embrace the future and join us in the club, will you? Visit twit.tv/clubtwit. I'll be very glad to welcome you. And here's to another many years of great TWiT content, thanks to you.